And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. Right now, the hot topic in the hobby is just the death of Metazoo, but it's one thing to play the Monday morning quarterback. It's another thing to go back and say, what were your thought processes on Metazoo 2 years ago? So that's what we're going to do in today's video. We're going to go back and we're going to watch an interview with myself and Mr. Dan Catch'emall Collectibles that was filmed on January 27th, 2022, which is 2 years before the recording of this video. And let's hear what our actual thoughts were. Keep it in mind, at the time, Metazoo was on a rocket ship type of growth. Kickstarter booster boxes were selling for $9,000. It was an absolute wild time. Let's see how some of our opinions age. Maybe some of them age well, some of them age poorly. But hey, one thing I want to do on this channel is I want to preserve information, and by preserving information, you also have to preserve how people's feelings were at a certain point in this hobby. So, sit back, relax, let's go back in time a little bit, and I hope you guys enjoy.
You don't do Metazoo, do you?
I trash on Metazoo. Do you want to trash on some Metazoo?
Well, Steve's Collectibles said, let's see the zoo, Dan.
All right. Let me ask you a question. So you're a smart guy. You've been very successful at Pokemon. Why? Why would you do that to yourself? Do you not understand like the risk? Do you all right, and here's another question. You're not a market manipulator. You made that very clear. How many first edition booster boxes do you have?
WotC first edition booster boxes?
Oh no, Metazoo Kickstarter.
Oh, Metazoo. I did a video where I divulged my entire inventory of Metazoo. I have two Kickstarter.
You know, with your two Kickstarter booster boxes, I could get the prices of those up I would just buy it and sell them to myself. That's why I don't like Metazoo. Because if I could do that with my 3 eBay accounts, get those 2 Kickstarter booster boxes, buy them back and forth to me and just not pay myself. And what's like the price floor, right? Or the struggle? It's like $9,000 right now for those they're struggling to get past.
Right around there, yeah.
Yeah. I would, within like, what is today? January 27th, by February 27th, there would be 15 sales of those 2 booster boxes for $9,000. It's too easy to manipulate that market. And that's exactly what's happening, Dan. Like, tell me you're going to tell me that market's not one of the most manipulated trading. If it looks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, it's a duck.
I think a lot of Pokemon in 2020, well, it was a perfect storm of things. There was a lot of manipulation going on. There was a lot of people just saying, buy everything. It's an investment. You're going to make money. And then there was a shortage due to PSA closure and all that. But
I don't want to interrupt you. This is going to be really hard for me. So this is the thing about like the Pokemon hype, which is the biggest obvious to anybody that's here for a long time. When you have a high sale, like I'll give you an example, the first edition Lugia from Neo, right? What was that high price it hit? Like 120, 130?
Yeah, something.
That's all anyone was talking about. Everyone that was in the know, everyone that knew what that card was said that price is total BS, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now for Metazoo, for all these first edition, people are stupid when I don't want to keep saying people are stupid, but the Metazoo Discord is the biggest bunch of yes men in one group ever. So if I wanted to, I could jack the prices up for those first edition holos, for Kickstarter holos, and I bet you within the week everybody would be quoting my fake prices I created on eBay. They would. They'd be like, did you see Bigfoot sold for $6,000? Oh my God. And then look, a week later, another one sold, and it would be the same one. And people would start quoting my fake prices. That's the honestly, Metazoo community.
At this point, I haven't been like actively tracking. I've been picking up things that I've wanted for my own collection. I've made very few sales. A couple of the sales I've made, I've bought 4 Kickstarter boxes, and I flipped 2 of them to kind of like get some of my cost basis out. I think I bought my first couple at around 2,000 and I sold one at 5 or 6 because the price went up quick. It was a decent profit to take. It felt, I mean, it is very speculative. It is very, I mean, there's definitely some degree of manipulation in there for sure. And it's a lot
all
smaller.
manipulation. It's manipulated by the creators. It's manipulated.
Well,
it's from the start to the finish, and then all the Timmies in between are the, hey, did you see the $100,000 or $130,000 Lugia sale? Those are the hype men that don't even know they're hype men.
but like the creators, I mean, the creators market it, right? They don't manipulate it. I think the creator got too much negativity, like,
Excuse me.
oh, he's pumping the prices. He gave a bunch of free product to social media people, to content creators. That's what marketing is in 2021. One thing that I always push back on people, if Pokemon or if Magic were to come out at the time that Metazoo did, they would be called money grabs. They would be called manipulated. They would be called...
No. Dan, don't even. How can you say that? The release of a Pokemon would be totally different, like how it was released. Pokemon was put in the hands of kids to be a game. It wouldn't be released the same way as Metazoo. So this is the difference between Pokemon and Metazoo. Pokemon is a trading card game that we as adults have made this trading card into a collectible asset. Metazoo started backwards. They took a collectible asset and then now pretend like it's a TCG. It was the opposite for Pokemon.
But I don't think something could, like the Kickstarter didn't even sell out. And then social media hype ran away with it. I don't think something could come out. Like say Pokemon had 4 years of history of sales in Japan before they came to the stateside. But I don't think something can come out like, what would the word be? Nothing can come out like organically in this day and age, because people are just like crazy for crypto, NFT, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, like stonks, make money on everything. How would or could a new card game release and not go nuts like that, right? Like that's kind of my point.
Yeah, but there's how many Kickstarter TCGs are going to come out of this? They're not going to all.
There's a lot right now, like way overfunded, and a lot of them are going to die, and Metazoo might die too. Like it is highly speculative, especially at the high prices it's at now.
The thing about Metazoo is that people are not buying. So out of all the raw cards you have, how many of those have you opened?
I haven't opened any Kickstarter.
Exactly. That's the answer. You don't open the product because it's a sealed collectible asset. You might have singles, but you're not the one opening it because you're looking at it as only an investment.
But let me go here though. So Pokemon, I've never opened a base set first edition box, but I own a bunch of it. I don't own a lot of Kickstarter singles for Metazoo. I opened 2 boxes of Cryptid Nation first edition, and I opened 2 boxes of Nightfall first edition. So I'm not doing anything substantially different from what I'm doing in Pokemon.
Yeah, but
the one main difference is that I acquired the base set first edition equivalent in the Kickstarter. I owned 4 at one point, or maybe 3 or 4 at one time. I really wanted to crack one. Someday I still might.
But you've also opened, you might not have opened a first edition booster box, but you said it on this stream already. You had a heavy first edition pack. You pulled the Ninetales. I opened one in
Vegas too.
You opened a first edition pack at Pokemon Saves the World. So don't say like, oh, well, see, when you use that kind of word and when you're like, well, I've never opened up a first edition booster box, it's like, yeah, but you open packs.
I'm going to open packs of Kickstarter 100%. I recently won on a Whatnot stream. Where'd it go? Pokemon Radar, actually. A friend. I had this pulled on my behalf by Pokemon Radar on Whatnot, a reverse holo Chaos Crystal from Kickstarter. So I have intent to open product. It's just like when I know that there's 2,500 boxes made, it is really hard to make that number go down by one. That's one thing that I honestly like about Metazoo. I like that the
You
print
like in
runs
the
are
artificial
known.
scarcity though.
It's not artificial. It didn't sell out. 2,500 boxes of Kickstarter didn't sell out in the original launch. That's not artificial. 25,000, they 10x'd it for the first edition release.
Yep.
That's not artificial. That's 10x.
All their chase cards they're making from now on, all these one of 100s, one of whatever.
That's what this is. One of 100 sample. Yeah.
They're creating artificial scarcity. And you know how you can tell that they're manipulating behind the scenes? Because the one thing that I always hear the most about Metazoo, above anything else, I don't ever, and this is the truth, I never hear about the playability of the game. And besides the money, the only thing I ever hear about is people talk about the owner, the creator, and they talk about how he's a good businessman. Like that's all they ever talk about. And if you guys are so worried about the guy running behind the scenes, they're talking about him as being a good businessman because people think that he will make them money in the future. That's what they really mean by that. They don't mean that they think he's a good businessman, like he's going to help grow this. What they think is going to happen is that he's going to do everything in his ability to make this product like in an investable thing. But this is the thing that I think about Metazoo is that it's only going to be investable for a small window of time, because if everybody who's flooding into this only looks at it as being investable, the problem is the large majority of people don't have like the wherewithal or like the backbone or the strength or everything that's needed to hold on when this thing starts crashing. What I think is going to happen is when it starts to crash, it's going to crash so much harder than everything else, because while Pokemon might be taking a downturn and you hear all the new collector investor flippers out there saying Pokemon is a huge crash, and then me and you could be like, Pokemon's still doing fantastic. But when that happens with Metazoo, people will know nothing else and they'll just jump ship. And then there's going to be and when I hate to use the term bag holders, because I feel like bag holders is like a Wall Street bets like stock market term. But when you talk about bag holders, they're going to be bag holders of Metazoo. And that's just.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes. At current pricing, highly speculative, highly risky. I'm not advising anyone buy it, especially if you don't enjoy it, but I've genuinely enjoyed opening the product that I've opened. It's very expensive, the Kickstarter and the first edition stuff, but on the playability side, I started in Pokemon 23 years ago. I left it for a long time, but I've been back into it for 8. I've never played a proper game of Pokemon. I've heard things about the whole Metazoo fourth wall. You gotta like dance around the room and yell stupid stuff, but I've never played it. I'm never going to. I don't really care if it's playable or not. It's probably better for the longevity of the game if it is. And there's been tournaments. There's people in Discord that talk about playing it. It's not for me. Some people do it. Maybe it's too few. Maybe it'll all die in a few years. Maybe I'll be a bag holder, but I'm interacting with it because I enjoy interacting with it.
Dan, do you think that Metazoo has artificially created barriers that it only benefits people that were there at the beginning, that it puts up artificial barriers for people who will enter the hobby later? Because in order for something like Metazoo to grow, you need it to have new people coming in, right? Are you rewarding people too early on for being early investors, collectors, like people that are able to get exclusive products or exclusive one of 100s or something? So then the people that will enter later, let's say somebody wants to come in from a year from now and the prices are all super high. You don't think that they're going to come in, look around at what all the prices are and say, the price points for entry for all this stuff is way too high? Where Pokemon, I think one of the best things Pokemon has going for it is the price of entry for Pokemon is still very low. when you talk about like the relative, sure, there's like the high end Charizard first edition, but I feel like what Metazoo is doing is constantly brick by brick building up walls, segregating older investors to new people entering the hobby. And people entering the hobby, I think they're just going to be pushed away by that. But it's a money grab in the short term. And I know you've bought like the NFTs and stuff, and there is like a physical asset that goes along with it. But are you buying that just because it's a 1 of 100, like artificial scarcity?
So there was a lot there.
Sorry, I'm very passionate against Metazoo.
And that's fine. I think it's good for people with differing opinions to have debates and discussions, right? So on the walls and barriers being built up and the inaccessibility, like if you want to pull a Cryptid Nation Mothman, you can buy the $9,000 Kickstarter box, 1 of 2,500. You can buy the roughly $800, I think, first edition Cryptid Nation booster box. Or you can buy the second edition booster box on eBay right now for like $90. If you want to buy, if you want to pull like a base Charizard, you can buy the $400,000 booster box, or you can buy the $15,000 unlimited box, or you can buy Evolutions and open a reprint of it, or you can buy. So
but why is that Charizard in Pokemon way more special than the Mothman in Metazoo? The Charizard,
it's got 23 years of history.
Yeah, it's the chase card from when people were growing up. It's one of the more popular Pokemon. Mothman is the Charizard of Metazoo. You know why? Because somebody told you it was.
That's like I don't buy. I've spoken out against the whole Mothman as the mascot thing. He's not mine. My chase is Bigfoot. One thing I like Pokemon had an IP. Pokemon was this universe that was created, right? All these creatures that you could catch and you could level up and you could evolve. Metazoo is interesting in that it's taken from the public domain, all these figures, all these creatures that like everyone in the world knows some amount of cryptids. Almost everyone knows Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster. Apparently Mothman is a popular one too, but I had never known who Mothman was until Metazoo. But like, I've got one right here. Like Bigfoot is a fairly iconic, well-known cryptid. So you've got some amount of, again, you're not tied to an IP that has 23 years of history, but you're tied to the public domain that has years or decades or centuries or millennia of history, right?
Do you think if Pokemon did this and the Pokemon was released in 99 and then things reached these prices, that it would be sustainable?
Well, don't forget the Home Shopping Network. Don't forget like the bubble that happened in 99, 2000. That popped.
The $1,200 Neo Genesis binders that they were creating.
Yeah. Pokemon very much was like, think of the children, kids couldn't get it. Adults did. It was 99, 2000. YouTube wasn't a thing. You can't go back and watch videos about it all. Metazoo's happening in this time and space where it is all being documented. I stand firm by my statement that if Pokemon or Magic were to come out today, and again, Pokemon was different because it had the 4-year prior release in Japan. If it came out as a US based IP,
but it had the Game Boy game, it had the cartoon.
And that's, I guess Metazoo's working the other direction, right? It's starting with the card game. They're making plushes. They're making all these different things, apparel. They're talking about TV shows. They're talking about games. They're talking about all that stuff. They've got the comic going on. So they're doing it in a different order, but I very much stand firm by, if Magic were to come out today, it would be called a money grab. This isn't going to last. This is a bubble. This is, and maybe Metazoo is, maybe I'm a bag holder, maybe in 2 years. And I hope I'm still making content. Pokemon's still my main thing. I might say like that Metazoo stuff was nuts. I can't believe I lost 50 grand on it. it was fun while it lasted, but like I've got my cards and they're worth
maybe
nothing.
I'll be wrong. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I'm not gonna sit here and say I wasn't in this. So you gotta. So this is the thing too that I always try to tell people is this community, the people watching right now, me and you talking, like, we know what Metazoo is. Good luck. Like finding somebody, like go to your local grocery store and like be that guy out front with a clipboard doing a poll. Like go ask how many people know Metazoo. So we are a little blinded, like, because we're very in the know.
mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what I don't want to keep like bashing Metazoo. Like I understand like why you're doing it, but what the point I'm trying to get is like being in the know is when Rudy started pumping Metazoo at the very beginning and Kickstarter booster boxes for first edition Kickstarter booster boxes for $500. Like I very well remember that. I remember when Z&G sold his packs. Do you remember that?
And I wasn't into it then. I didn't get my stuff that early.
So like I was aware and I had my opportunity. So, and it was funny because I saw all this stuff happening and I'm like, this is a bubble, but I bet you that this is going to keep going up for the near term. And I could have made one or two decisions. Like one, jump in on this and ride this baby like a bubble and then just hope I get off before it pops. But my whole like collecting, investing, whatever you want to call it, strategy is I only want to get into something like that I believe in. And I just feel that maybe you are starting to become a believer, but I still
believe in
the large
Metazoo.
majority isn't.
I'm not like, I have nothing listed for sale right now. I have stuff that's appreciated quite significantly since I bought it, and I'm not selling any of it. The prices are high. I paid high prices and they went higher, but I enjoy it and I believe in it. And I don't think it's going to be the next Pokemon. I don't think it's going to knock off Pokemon, but I'm only interacting with it because I enjoy it. Like, I've never gotten into Magic. I never played Yu-Gi-Oh when I was younger. I never got into Weiss, Card Fight, none of these other things. Metazoo came along. It's just genuinely been enjoyable. It's been a wild, crazy ride, but I can't say 2020 Pokemon wasn't either. 2020 Pokemon was a bubble that popped. 1999 Pokemon was a bubble that popped. Metazoo in the spring was like a bubble. I think Kickstarter boxes in the spring peaked at like 5,000 or 6,000, and then they popped and went down to like 2,000, and I picked up a couple. Then they ran. I mean, they've gone relatively steadily up to like 9 now. I mean, a lot of noise, but it's a very crazy market. And I've bought crypto years ago and I've done well in crypto. I've long been a proponent of like buy and hold index funds. The majority of my actual investable net worth is all in stocks. I invest heavily in 401ks and IRAs and things of that nature. And so I'm not like pumping and dumping Metazoo. I'm not, if you don't like it, don't buy it. That's my take. Same with Pokemon.
I don't buy it, Dan.
I sold that card at 200 and I sold it at 150 and I sold it at 100 and I'm selling it at 60. And if next week it goes to 40, I'm selling it at 40. Was that card in a bubble? Was it? I mean,
but look at what you're doing when you talk about that card. You're pointing at that card and you're literally describing how you navigated the market. You navigated that card. You think you can navigate the Metazoo market the same way you navigated that Charizard V from Champion's Path? Like, do you think it's going to be the same sort of navigation that you're going to be able to know when something is overvalued, undervalued, the ebb and flows, like understand market condition, market indicators, history of cards, histories of sets, like people's thought processes and all the little things that go in for Pokemon that you could almost instantly absorb? Like, I could probably show you I could pull any random Pokemon card from any random set and I could show it to you and you instantly could identify the fundamentals behind that card. Can you really do that with Metazoo though?
I'm doing it right now.
But you're not selling anything. You're just holding?
I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell when the time. I've sold a couple things. I've sold 2 Kickstarter booster boxes. I intend. I'm a Pokemon channel and I'm a Pokemon business, and that's not changing. I'm just picking up a little Metazoo on the side because I'm enjoying it. 5-10 years from now, I've got other plans in mind for my life. I'm not going to completely leave Pokemon, but like there's other business ventures, there's other things I'm going to get into. Right now, Metazoo is just picking up the spare 5 to 10% of my attention and cash flow, I guess. But yeah, I that's the fun of it. That's the fun of Pokemon, finding the value, buying the value, selling what I think is headed down, buying what I think is headed up. And I'm playing the same value-seeking game in Metazoo that I'm playing in Pokemon. I've been successful in Pokemon. I've made some mistakes though too. I've bought some things. I've sold some things early. I sold most of my evolutions. Tens of cases, not like hundreds of cases, but I sold 20 cases of evolutions at $300 or $400 a box. I could have doubled or tripled my money from there. I bought some lots I shouldn't have bought. I've lost some money here and there on different buys, but I'm sure I will with Metazoo too. Maybe I'll lose it all. Maybe I'm holding, well, my total inventory, like I sold a lot in 2020, but I also didn't sell a lot. I lost 6 figures in Pokemon by not selling everything in 2020. It was a bubble. The bubble popped. And it was a bubble in 99 and it popped. But
this is the thing about, so we all kind of lost money in 2020 if you look at it that way by not selling at the peak. But the problem I feel will happen is with Metazoo is that there's gonna be just too many people that have a little bit too much of like that irrational exuberance for Metazoo, and I guess I'm just more afraid for them in the future.
Oh yeah, I have no debt. It's a very risky buy. I've bought into this with a very small portion of my business's cash flow and available funds. Like, I'm not telling anyone to go buy Metazoo. I'm not actively selling any of it. Some people are. Like, there are definitely pumpers and dumpers in Metazoo. There are definitely people shilling things. There's definitely people manipulating things. The same thing can be said about Pokemon. The same thing, crypto, NFTs, stocks. There are bad actors in every market.
Of course, but the thing about Pokemon is at least you could identify when it's happening. I would say
a lot of people can't.
But I was just going to say the majority of people can't because I see it happen all the time. They don't see it happening. Like I don't know. I think it's too new of a market. Maybe it would just be a good learning for everybody, and maybe I'll be totally wrong. Maybe in 5 years from now, you'll be like, hey, you remember when we were talking about Pokemon first edition booster boxes being worth 200,000+? Well, guess what? Like, how stupid do you feel? And I'll be like, well, whatever.
And I think we've been respectful, right? I think it's healthy. Like some people like fight over this stuff. Some people disagree and, oh, I hate you. You don't like the shiny cards that I like. You're bad. Or it's silly, I think. I mean,
yeah, I should make a new rule on this channel that there's a no Metazoo allowed to be talked about on this channel. I don't want you to like think I'm going after you or anything.
No, I feel like this is I've had conversations like this off camera with certain people. When I first, because I'm a Pokemon channel, when I first uploaded the Metazoo video, the amount of hate and vitriol, some people, like some genuinely, mostly strangers that I didn't even know, they're like, hey, unsubscribe. I can't believe you're on this hype train.
Like, where did you come from, random guy I've never seen before?
They're like, I can't believe you're a pump and dumper. I thought you were, and it wasn't a ton of people, but there was a handful of it, and it blew my mind. It's like, it was a box opening of me opening Cryptid Nation First Edition, talking about the arts. Like, I'm a collector. I'm a collector at heart, and I like Bigfoot's my chase, and I was opening the packs, and I was talking about some of the thoughts on it. I like the packs aren't weighable. I like that every box is wrapped with the logos and the tamper-proof seal, so that if in 10 or 20 years, it's going to be easier to authenticate things if it's a thing. If it's not a thing, who really cares? And they wasted a bunch of money on all this like tamper-proof security stuff. But
Yeah,
I
so
think they learned
I don't know
from
anything about like the tamper proofing or anything, but without knowing anything, if that is the case and they are in fact truly not weighable, which I don't know, or the booster boxes are not tamperable, like yeah, I think that's something Pokemon should already be doing.
yeah, they've learned some, like they've seen 20 years of Pokemon. They've seen almost 30 years of Magic, and they've taken what they liked from it and they've gone with some of it. They've fixed some of the things they didn't like. Like there's a lot of interesting things to me with Metazoo, and that's why I'm getting involved in it. I never got into anything else as a child, so like Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't do it for me. Magic, I've picked up a couple oddball singles that I remember like my cousins had when I was younger, but I never played it. I never played Pokemon even. But yeah, if the day comes that like warning bells go off in my head, this is crazy, I'm gonna lose all my money, I'll tell my channel I'm selling all my Metazoo because I'm scared of where it's headed. I'm no longer enjoying it. And I'm gonna say like the same thing I was doing in 2020 when I was actively selling on eBay $500 to $1,000 EVs and Pikachus. I said, please don't buy them from me.
That was good advice.
Literally,
That's kind of what I'm trying to do.
It's a weird scenario. Like if and when if I wake up tomorrow, Poke Knowledge like hit me with the knowledge, Metazoo is actually a bubble, I'm gonna make a video on my channel. No. And I'm going to shout you out and I'm going to say, thank you for enlightening me. I'm going to sell, like, please don't buy these Kickstarter boxes from me for 9,000, but someone will. Like, that's the thing about my channel. Like, I never want to be accused as like a pump and dumper. I try to be transparent on everything. I link my eBay. I show you what I'm selling. Some of it's a good buy. Some of it's a bad buy.
Yeah.
I buy low and I sell higher. In rising, falling, stagnant markets, there's always money to be made due to the illiquid nature of these collectible items. And like I said, years ago, it was video games. Years ago, it was coins. Today, it's Pokemon and Metazoo. 5-10 years from now, who knows what it'll be. Hopefully still Pokemon largely, but
I think somebody on here had a good, who was it? Skater Nesto. I think he had the best thing of the night. Agree to disagree.
yeah. I think that's.
But then Kevin Clear also said, let's pack Kickstarter boxes with G.I. Joe for the future, and I also agree with that. So
I think it's a good, healthy thing to be able to have two people respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
And I talk through my points, you talk through yours. Neither of us convinced the other. We don't really have to
listen.
Dan, at the end of this, one of us doesn't have to be swayed.
What's the guy's name? What's his name? Mike Waddell.
Mike Waddell? Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody needs to just tell him, he could send me a bunch of free product. I'll rip through it. Yeah. I'll tell you if it's good or not.
You know why? Well, it's funny. I bought a big lot I bought 4 sealed, the artificially scarce sample packs, right? I bought those from Rusty.
Yeah.
Rusty was sent those free because a year ago he was a big content creator. I bought 4 packs from him for $16,000.
Yeah. Do you yeah, I mean, you know who Cool Trainer Ryan is, obviously, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I forget I want to say it was with Jake. He was talking about PokeRev got a huge amount of Kickstarter product from that guy Mike, and with the intention of opening it on his channel, he said he didn't open a single pack on his channel. He said he's probably sitting on just very similar to TCA, just tens of thousands of dollars worth of his product.
Yeah, Rusty had 9 of the sample packs that hold 5 cards each, and I bought the ones with the better cards in it.
Okay.
But I paid $4,000 a piece. Those are worth like $3,000 a piece plus. I don't know what he got as far as like Kickstarter boxes or anything, but Rusty mentioned that he got them as a freebie when they were worth nothing almost. He threw them in a drawer and forgot about them. Like, so it's crazy to think, even though it's come out in all this hype period, even though most people are pack pulling, grading immediately, there's some amount of attrition. Nick, old school Pokemon, he went to a Collecticon last year. They handed him a Kickstarter pack. He doesn't even remember what he pulled or what he did with the cards. He said they probably ended up in the garbage.
Well, I mean, if you went, this is a little segue, but when you heard like the stories of the very first alpha Wizard of the Coast Magic the Gathering cards, they said like the very first test play they ever had with all those alpha cards, after they were done test playing it, they just threw all those
Chucked
cards
them
in the trash.
Yeah, people sat down at the table, flipped through them, maybe played a hand or whatever, and then just ended up in the garbage. Like, crazy to think of it. And Metazoo, that we don't have to keep going on Metazoo if you don't want to, but
nobody's throwing Kickstarter Metazoo in the trash either, though. If like, there's 2,500 booster boxes worth of Kickstarter Metazoo, 20 years from now, there'll still be 2,500. There won't be like
maybe like 2,450. Nick threw away his pack, supposedly. He said he opened a pack and he lost them or threw them away or whatever. But yeah, I agree. The attrition is nowhere near like Alpha Magic.
Yeah.
One interesting similarity between Magic and Metazoo, and I'm not saying that Metazoo is going to head to where Magic is because of it, but like Pokemon is drastically different in that the vintage and the modern are like way up here, and it was a lull in the middle. So like out of the gate, Pokemon started with massive print runs.
Sure.
For base, jungle, fossil, rocket.
8 different, speculative 8 different print runs.
Yep. And Magic was the complete opposite, right? It had a known print run for Alpha, and then it went up to Beta, Unlimited.
Well, it didn't. Alpha didn't have a known print run. It wasn't until years later did they really find out the true print run.
Not known out of the gate, but it came out later, right? Like 4 million, however many cards it was. But as of today, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, the 4 Horseman sets, revised, a lot of those print runs are known. That's one thing I like about Metazoo. I liked that the earliest sets are the smallest, and I liked that they're kind of ramping into the growth of the interest, right? And then they're going into Walmart soon, they're going into Target soon. And if it's a flop,
like I don't want to keep talking about it, but
no, we can it's your channel and it's Pokemon knowledge, it's not Metazoo knowledge.
Yeah, it's just going, it's almost as if getting too big. I think like in the Metazoo Discord group, they think it's a bigger IP than it is. So to go into Walmart, everybody just thinks like everybody's going to want to like stonk out super hard on this Metazoo product once it hits the Walmart shelves. But from everything I've heard about, Metazoo, even like to get people to join the Discord, from what I've heard through people, is that they offered like the availability of potentially getting NFTs, but the only way you could potentially be like eligible for that is to be in their Discord group. So then overnight their Discord group grew like by a massive amount of people just trying to get that NFT. Like that's all artificial like stuff in my opinion. But
and if they're going into Walmart soon and then Target shortly thereafter, if they flop in the big box stores, Walmart's not going to carry a dying, like if they don't sell there, which a lot of people say they won't. People say like it's pump and dump and no one's going to care when it doesn't make money, second edition, third edition.
But that's the thing too, is everyone talks about the guy Mike. He's not stupid. They're going to sell out of Walmart at first because there's too many Walmarts for him to supply with enough product,
So if it, like
if let's just say there's 15 hangers at Walmart or whatever. I don't know what they're doing, like packs, blisters, whatever. Mm-hmm. Say they each store gets allotted 15. Like doesn't take a lot of people to go clear out a store of 15. It's, where let's just say the cost to clear out the shelf is $100, where a restock of Pokemon to go clear out the shelves, I don't even know. That's probably like $600-700 probably.
Yeah.
So I think it will be easy in the near term, but what I'm just worried about is that long term. I think it will stonk out real hard in Walmart at first.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it'll become evident, right? With whether it's months or years, if it's a bubble scenario, if it pops, but it might pop to some extent. It might die and dwindle down fairly small. It might, and then it might come back 10 years later, like Pokemon did. Pokemon was almost dead. I thought it was dead. I left the hobby in 03 and I came back in 14. I didn't know that a card was printed in that whole span.
Yeah.
I mean, Pokemon was a bubble that popped, and then we recently had another bubble that popped. And the stock market, though, too. I mean, the stock market, companies still exist. They still make a lot of money. Stocks are valued pretty high historically right now, but it popped in the late 20s. It popped in the 70s with all the inflation stuff. It popped in the late 90s, 08. And I'm not saying Metazoo or Pokemon are like stocks, but like there's a historical there's a history of just
If you want to do the stock comparison, this is how I would compare it right now. So stocks, this is like the .com bubble. Right now, Pokemon and Magic is like Apple and Amazon. They're going to come out of the .com boom, fantastic.
Metazoo's pets.com or
Metazoo is AOL.
very well could be.
It's a pay by the minute. They're sending you floppy disks in the mail, and you get a nice little profile and a screen name, and maybe you pick up your 6th grade girlfriend through AIM. That's what Metazoo is.
That's what I was just gonna say though. My wife, I have good memories of AOL. Talking to my wife on AOL Instant Messenger back in like high school. So
yeah,
maybe
everybody put ASL in the chat right now.
Yeah. 20 years from now, I might be looking back on Metazoo the same way I look back on AOL with like, I hear that sound in the
key connecting or the you got mail.
No, when you're doing the dial up like that.
Yeah, with the key with the word.
Yeah.
Or you ever like pick up your house phone when somebody's on the computer and they're like, get off the phone?
Yeah, my sister had a block of time and I had a block of time, and then it had to be open for calls for my parents first. Yeah. So 20 years from now, maybe I look back on Metazoo and I just think of it nostalgically like I do AOL, and it's all worthless and done and gone.
Yeah.
Could be.
All right. I think that's going to end it for the Metazoo chat.
Yes.
If you guys dislike Metazoo, hit the like button. But if you like Metazoo, also hit the like button on this video.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the stuff. I think it made for interesting chat. Same way Pokemon has. I mean, we've been going over 3 hours now, and I've very much enjoyed the entire conversation.